Well, we're through 16 weeks, and here we are. Week 17, the final week of the NFL's regular season. Certainly hope everybody had a good Christmas holiday. Mine was just fine right up until late Saturday evening when Cincinnati kicker Randy Bullock missed what was effectively a point-blank field goal at the end of that Bengals-Texans game, gave Houston a 12-10 victory, and turned a winning day into a losing day for me. Bitter pill to swallow, tough way to go to bed on Christmas Eve. But we've had a couple of days to get over it now. Aside from adding Bullock to our people to kill list, we have gotten over it and moved on to this Week 17 slate. Always a tricky week. For my money, maybe the trickiest week to handicap the NFL is Week 17. That's because there's a lot of guesswork involved when it comes to motivation and effort. It's usually not the case in professional football, but Week 17, you have a few teams who are in playoff mode already, do or die, win or go home type thing. The Washington Redskins, for instance. You have other teams still fighting for playoff seeding, but for many teams, the results this week are completely meaningless. And so you'll see coaches resting players to preserve them for the playoffs. On losing teams, you'll see a lot of players who have already mentally checked out and gone on vacation. So it's our job to sort of sift through the muck, figure out which teams are going to show up and which teams might not, and try to make some wise decisions. Now we have sifted through said muck, gone through this Week 17 slate, and come up with 3 games that I like the looks of, would like to get to them now quickly. Starting in Tennessee, where the Titans will host the aforementioned Houston Texans. Tennessee a 3-point favorite at BetSafe, 40.5 the total in this game. Now this game went from meaning everything to meaning nothing. Had the Titans been able to take care of business in Jacksonville last week, this game would be for the AFC South and a playoff berth. But the Titans lost to the lowly Jaguars, so they eliminated themselves from playoff contention. Houston has clinched the AFC South, and they have locked in the 4 seed in the AFC playoffs, regardless of whether they win or lose this game. So as we said, this game completely meaningless. Still, I think we can expect good effort out of this Tennessee team. They have played hard all year for Mike Mularkey, and they have exceeded everybody's expectations. I know Titans fans don't want to hear this after seeing their team blow a chance at the playoffs, losing to a bad Jacksonville team last week, but still, this has been a successful season for Tennessee. Most people picked them to finish dead last in the AFC South, and they have been very competitive. As we said, nearly won the division. Now, tough news for them last week with Marcus Mariota, their quarterback, breaking his leg, but they do have an experienced backup in Matt Castle, a guy who has been a starter in the NFL. And Tennessee, they're a run-first team anyway, sort of an old-school team. They run the ball and stop the run. 3rd in the NFL in rushing offense, averaging just shy of 140 rushing yards per game, and they're 5th in rushing defense. They only allow 91.1 yards per game on the ground. If you're going to beat this Titans team, you've got to do it through the air. We saw Jacksonville last week hit a lot of big passing plays down the field. That's been the Achilles heel of this Tennessee team all season, 31st in passing defense. But you know what? You look at the Texans right now, I'm not sure they're going to be able to take advantage of that. That's because they are starting Tom Savage at quarterback. Now, I guess Bill O'Brien had to make the move at some point. Brock Osweiler certainly was not playing well, but I'm not sure Savage is an upgrade. We said last week, heading into that Houston-Cincinnati game, that was one of the main reasons I like Cincinnati because, I just thought it was a little silly how you heard people all week assuming Tom Savage was going to be an upgrade and the Houston offense was going to be fine now that he was under center. I mean, this is a guy who was on the roster for a couple of years. The coaches have seen him in practice every day. He was not playing for a reason. Finally got his first start last week, was very unimpressive, only threw for 179 yards. The Texans only managed 12 points. Now they go on the road where they have not been very good this season. Houston just 2-5 on the road. I don't like their chances here. As we said, Tennessee can stop the run. I do not look for Houston to have much success on the ground in this game, and I don't trust Tom Savage on the road. Tennessee with an opportunity here to beat a division rival at home, final game of the season. I think they're going to take advantage of it. I like Tennessee to cover the 3-point number. Moving on now to Washington, where the Redskins host the New York Giants. Washington a 7.5-point favorite at BetSafe, 44 the total here. Now these teams met back in Week 3. Washington squeaked one out, 29-27. That game was in New York. This one in Washington. But you know what? We have to sort of put aside everything we've seen this season when we're handicapping this game because this is totally meaningless for the New York Giants. They have locked in the 5th seed regardless of what happens here on Sunday. The Redskins, meanwhile, desperately need the win. If the Redskins win this game, they will be in the playoffs unless the Green Bay-Detroit game ends in a tie. Let's not even go through that scenario. But unless that game ends in a tie, the Redskins are in a win and they're in situation. If they lose, they are definitely out of the playoffs. So everything on the line for Washington in this game means nothing for the Giants. I don't expect to see the Giants starters. I'm not sure how much we're going to see them. I will be stunned if Odell Beckham plays a single snap in the second half of this game. So how do you not like Washington here? I mean, look, I know the Giants players who are out there are going to play hard, but they're not going to be rolling out their A team, at least not for the whole game they're not. I mean, it would be foolish if they did because, as we said, this game totally meaningless. And the Redskins, we know they can put up some points. Third in the NFL in total offense this season. Now, the Redskins do have issues on defense, but this Giants team, I mean, even when everybody's out there, they have trouble scoring points. 24th in total offense, 26th in points scored. New York averaging just 19.4 points per game this season. Their offense has effectively become the Odell Beckham show, and as I said, I will be stunned if Beckham sees the field in the second half of this game. Now, the Giants have played pretty good defensively this season, but not great in the secondary, just 22nd in the NFL in passing defense. And this Washington offense is led by Kirk Cousins. He has had a terrific season. Another big game last week when the Redskins poured 41 on the Chicago Bears in a 20-point victory. Look, the Redskins have rolled 23 or more in 11 of their last 15 games. I don't see any reason to think that the Giants are going to be able to hold their offense here. I mean, as we said, even when the Giants were playing all their best players, the Redskins scored 29 points on them in Week 3. Kirk Cousins throwing for 296 yards in that game. I think Washington a great bet here. This game is going to be an absolute blowout. I like Washington minus 7.5. Final game I'm involved in this Week 17. What about the Oakland Raiders going on the road to face the Denver Broncos? Denver a 2.5-point favorite at BetSafe. 40.5 the total here. It's been a disappointing season for the defending Super Bowl champion Broncos. There's no question about that. They have now lost 3 straight games. They have been eliminated from playoff contention. But do you think they want to see the hated Raiders win the AFC West on their home field? I do not think so. So I think we're going to see full effort from this Denver team here on Sunday. Now, the Raiders have been better than the Broncos throughout the season. They've been playing great football lately. They have won 7 of their last 8 games. They will clinch the AFC West if they can only beat Denver here on Sunday. But catastrophic injury for the Raiders last week when their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, went down with a broken leg. Unlike Mariota for Tennessee, now that was a bad loss for the Titans as well, but the Titans are a run-first football team. Matt Castle, an experienced backup quarterback, I think they might be able to get by. Certainly not in the long run, but this week I think the Titans can get by with Matt Castle as a quarterback, and they might have even been able to win a game or two in the playoffs with Castle. I mean, the style of football they play. Oakland, on the other hand, they have been winning purely by outscoring people. And they've been doing that strictly on the right arm of Derek Carr. He has had a great year. The Raiders have a terrific offense, but a terrible defense. 28th in the NFL in total defense. In their recent winning streak, they've won 7 of their last 8 games. As we said, they've only held one opponent below 20 points in those 8 games. So even when they've been playing great football here in the second half of the season, they've been winning games by outscoring teams. Will they be able to do that without Derek Carr? They have Matt McGloin under center now. I don't think so, especially not on the road against this Denver Broncos defense. The Broncos, a great veteran defense, 6th in the NFL in total defense, 5th in points allowed. They surrender just 19.4 points per game. And of course, the strength of that defense is the secondary. They call themselves the no-fly zone. It's just a terrible sounding matchup to me for the Raiders. Matt McGloin under center going on the road to Denver to face this great Broncos defense. I know that the Broncos have only managed 23 combined points in their last 3 games, but they have not faced a defense like Oakland in those last 3 games. Like we said, this Oakland defense has been very, very generous this season. Even in their recent good stretch, this Oakland defense cannot hold anybody below 20 points. I think Denver wins this game. Really rough break for the Raiders, losing Derek Carr. But hey, we've got to pounce on things like that and take advantage. I do not see Matt McGloin leading his team to a win in Denver. There you have it. Those are my thoughts on this Week 17. I like the Tennessee Titans -3 at home against Houston. I like the Washington Redskins to cover 7.5 points against the New York Giants. And I like the Denver Broncos to finish off the season with a win over the Oakland Raiders. I like Denver minus 2.5 there. Folks, I wish you best of luck, whatever you decide to do in this Week 17, just so long as your interests don't conflict with my interests. Enjoy the games.